Leet code question 392. Is subsequence. Given two strings s and t, return true if s is a subsequence of t or false otherwise. So how do we know if s is a subsequence of t? Well, first of all, t has to have all of the characters of s, and the relative positions have to be the same. So what does that mean? Let's say you have two strings here. Let's call this our substring, the one that we're comparing, and our alpha string. So the first condition is that all of the characters in S have to be within A. So A, B, C, let's check this. So A, B, and C. So that condition is met. The second condition is the relative positions have to be the same. So A is before B, and B is before C. Let's see if it's true over here. A is before B, and B is before C. So this condition is met. However, let's say that you have something like A, G, C, and B. So all of the characters, so the first condition is met. All of the characters A, B, C are within here. However, the relative positions are not. A is before B, that's true, but B is after C, which isn't true. So how would we solve something like this? How would we solve something like this? Well, the solution that I came up with was, let's say we split up this substring into its individual elements. So something like a list. And then we'll just target the very first element of this list, and we'll see, is the very first element of this list within this alpha string? So let's say we loop through this alpha string and say, okay, we're going to compare, let's say this is the first index of the loop. We're going to compare this element with the first elements of our substring. We're going to compare A is equal to A, so yes, it is. So now that this condition is met, we can just kick it out. We don't need this anymore. Now, what is the first element of our substring? Our first element is this B. So we're going to continue down the loop. So is H equal to B? No. Is B equal to B? Yes. So we found B, we can kick this out. Now the first element of our list is just C. So is G equal to C? Nope. Is D equal to C? Nope. Is C equal to C? Yes. So now we can kick this out, and at the end of the day, if our list is empty, that means that this substring is a subsequence of this alpha string. And using this remove method, it allows us to keep our relative positions as well. And if the list is empty, that means that we've encountered every single element or every single character of this substring within our alpha string. So that condition is met too. So how does this work? How does this work on the other side? So let's say we have something that doesn't work. So let's say we have A, C, and B. So we're going to start at A. Is A equal to A? So we're going to loop through this. Is A equal to A? Yes, it is. So we're going to kick this A out. Now we're at B. Is B equal to C? No, it's not. So B goes to the next one. Is B equal to B? Yes, it is. So we kick this out. And at the end of the day, we're left with just a C. So the list isn't empty, and therefore we know the relative positions aren't the same. Even though all the characters are within here, the relative positions are the same. And that's why using this remove method will allow us to keep our relative positions as well. So how would we code this out? How would we code this out? So the very first thing we need to do is make our substring into a list. So our substring is equal to, and I'm using list comprehension here, so letter for letter in S. So that just makes our substring, this ABC, into a list. From here, we need to loop through our alpha string. So for letter in T, so we're looping through our alpha string, A, H, B, G, C, D, C. And we're going to check, so let's say, what do we need to find? We need to find our substring, or the very first element of our substring. So need to find is going to be this A, and we're going to loop through, so letter is going to be our loop going through our alpha string. So need to find is substring 0. Now, if letter, or if our need to find is equal to our letter, so if this is equal to this, then we can just substring we have to, if this is equal to this, we have to remove the first element of our list, right? So we can just do substring.pop, and to pop, so if we just leave it like this, it'll pop the end of our string. If we want to pop the beginning of our string, we can just put a 0 there. So pop out our 0th index, and so that'll pop that out, and then we just return if not substring. So if not substring, basically if our substring is empty, then we return true. That's what this means. Now let's say that we have more characters at the end here. So let's say this pops out and this is empty, but then after that we keep on going, so it keeps on going, and then we have no other, our list is empty now, so we can't compare an empty list with an with another element. That'll reach an error. So what we have to do is we have to see if our substring is still if our substring still has letters in it, and if it doesn't, then we could either return true, or we can make another condition. So we can just say if substring, and we just nest everything in there. So we only do this if there's letters in our substring. Otherwise we don't. So ABC AHBGDC, this should return true. So let's see what that's. So that's true. And then ABD, this should be false. And let's say we didn't nest it. Oops. Let's say we didn't nest it in the substring in this check here. So we didn't do that. And we had ABGDC This substring right here is going to be out of range. This index out of range because we popped this out, and now that we pop this out at the very end, this substring is going to be a 0. Like there's going to be nothing in this list, and we're going to access the 0th element in an empty list. And when we do that, that's gonna be an error. So that is the answer to is subsequence.